Who am I? The most essential question. There is a very easy answer to the question, and there is a more complex one. The easy answer is that everybody knows who they are, have a sense of feeling of who I am. You know, I'm this person so-and-so, and I have a place to live, I have relationships, I have a job, I have an age, nationality, and has a kind of certain location in time and space. So that's the identity that most people have about themselves. But there is a much deeper aspect to this, because I am much more than just this person that I think I am. So who I am really is the purpose of this video, to give a little perspective on how to approach this question, who am I? Because the tricky part of it is who is asking the question. When you say, who am I? Well, who is asking the question? It is a little bit like holding two mirrors in front of each other, and you're trying to reflect the mirror in a kind of into infinity. And that's actually also where the question ends up. It ends up in infinity. And infinity doesn't exist in time and space. You think that infinity is something that takes a long time. It doesn't. It's infinity and now is the same. So there is these two dimensions of reality, which one dimension is in time and space, which consists of objects and experiences. But on the background of this, there is also a reality outside of time and space. It's a little bit like a movie in the sense that the film exists in time and space, but the screen of the movie is permanent and doesn't change. So these two dimensions is inherent in this question of who am I? So let's begin. And in fact, the question, who am I, is a highly scientific question. And what is behind the question is that you want to know what is reality. And there is a basic different approach in the Eastern perspective and the Western perspective. So Western science does have a external point of view, in the sense that Western science has discovered that, okay, here is an external world which is extremely fascinating. There are stars, there are mountains, animals, plants, and other human beings, and it's a fascinating world. Let's find out how this world works and what it is. And so science has been very successful in discovering and investigating the outside world. But in the East, they have taken a different approach, and that said, wait a minute, how can I know what this reality is if I don't know who I am, who is observing this reality? And so therefore, the Eastern approach has been an inward journey of finding out who I am. And that is the perspective that we're going to take in this presentation here. And so what is quite obvious from your own experience, from your own self-inquiry, is that you do have experiences, right? You experience sounds, you experience sights, you smells, taste, you have thoughts in your mind, and so on. But at the same time, there is also an observer. You're at the same time aware of there are smells, and I'm aware of the smell. There is a thought in my mind, and I'm aware of the thought. I have a body, and I'm aware of having a body. So how can you be the body when you are a witness to the body? So what is this witness? You know, so and what is the difference? Is there a difference between what is being observed and what is the witness that does the observing? And so in order to get a grasp on this, we need to take the bread test. And the bread test means that we have to find out the difference, whether you know the difference between a bread and yourself. Okay? It can seem like an obvious test, but we have to investigate a little further. And the thing is that a bread is an object. It has a location in time and space. It has a beginning and it has an end. It starts when the baker starts making the bread, and it ends when someone is fortunate enough to eat it, right? And the bread, you can buy it, and when you've bought it, you can do with the bread what you want. You can cut it in two, and then you will have two half breads. Or you can cut it in slices, and it will still maintain its essence as bread. Okay? If the bread tastes bad, you cannot hold it responsible, but you have to talk to the baker and hold that responsible for the bread. Okay? So it's, in many ways, it's a kind of a dead object. It doesn't, you cannot talk to the object or anything, and you can do with it what you like. You don't need to treat it with respect. You can throw it in the wall, you can throw it in the toilet, or whatever you can do with the bread. So this is a bread. It exists in time and space. It has location, has a physical locality. On the other hand, a human being has some other qualities that is quite different from an object. And the thing is that you cannot take a human being and cut it in two, and then you have two half breads, okay? Because there is something genuine that makes us human, which is that we do have consciousness, we have awareness, and we have free will in the sense, and therefore we can be held responsibility for our actions. We treat each other for this reasons with respect, because we want to be treated with respect ourselves. We don't do violence to others because we don't like to be treated with violence ourselves. We don't lie to others because we don't like to be lied to. Simple as that. So the thing is that to be a human being is to be a subject, in contrast to being an object. So it is not the body, the physical body, that makes me into a human, because you can have a body, but that can just as well be a corpse of a dead person. That's also a body. But what makes me a subject is my awareness, is my consciousness, that actually when you look into my eyes, there are someone there. There is an awareness, there is a consciousness present in my being, and that is who I am. So that makes me into a subject and not an object. Okay? And now, then the question comes, well, where is the subject? Where does it have a beginning? Does it have an end? Is it in the brain somewhere? The thing is that science cannot discover the awareness, the consciousness. It cannot be discovered in the brain. It is really like looking at the symphony orchestra inside a TV box, or the presenter in the TV show, and looking inside the TV box. So the thing is that when you discover this, it doesn't have any beginning, because I am existence. I exist. I'm conscious. And if you say, well, existence, there is no thing as non-existence. It's the same question as asking, where does the universe end? If you travel out far enough into space, then you say, okay, well, you have to come to an end somewhere. No, you don't. It's an important question to ask, where does the universe end? Because it doesn't have any end. And that means that the universe in itself does not exist in time and space. It's actually a location within an existence which is outside of time and space. And that is my nature. I am existence. And my existence does not have a beginning. And it doesn't have an end. Because if you say, as I say, if you come to an end and say, well, here is the end of existence, and say, here is nothing, but of course I am there to say that there is nothing, so I must exist. And so that is the true fact of who I am. That is that I am outside of time and space, I don't have any beginning, and I don't exist in time. So, but that is hard to grasp, and that is where the big mistakes happens, that we get confused, that there is these two worlds of subject and object. And the thing is that we get this confused, that our true nature is to be a subject outside of time and space. And then, but I believe myself, I confuse myself believing that I am this body, that I am an object. So I actually take myself to be a bread. Okay? And this is called dualism. That creates, through my belief that I am as infinite consciousness, unlimited, always free, and unaffected, and don't have a beginning and don't have an end, but I still believe I am this limited person who has a beginning. I'm getting born, and I'm going to live, and I'm going to die. So I'm getting this confused. Okay? So the subject believes that it is the object. This confusion is called ignorance. Okay? And this is our basic problem. And this is the cause of our suffering. This is the cause of dualism, in the sense that I experience myself as being separate from the world. I experience myself as being in the world instead of that the world is in me. So this is the view, this is the inherent view that, and the ignorance that everybody is born with. And this is the cause of endless suffering, simple as that. First of all, it creates fear, in the sense that the world is my enemy. I cannot control the world. I don't know what's going to happen next. All kinds of things can happen, earthquakes and unpaid bills, and people can be nasty to me, people can steal from me, I can get sick, I can get pain, I can get a toothache, just an end to what kind of calamities that can happen. And in the end, the ultimate disappointment is that I'm going to die. So suffering is our human condition, simple as that. And okay, there is a lot of pleasurable things that we can have, and mostly life is joyful, but every satisfaction comes with pain, because the satisfaction is going to end, and the bigger the satisfaction, the greater the craving will be to experience it one more time. So it is really, so our whole life, when you identify being this body, is the whole life is about become as happy as you want. So so this person that I think I am is this memory package full of desires and fears. That's really who I am if I identify myself with being a person. A desire package of memory and fear. That's who I am if I think I'm this person. So the limitations, there's 3 limitations that kind of causes this suffering. And the first obvious limitation is that being this person, then I'm going to die one day. Okay, so if death is not a limitation, I don't know what is, right? And so we always fear death, even though death is just a thought in the mind. I'm not died, I'm not dead now, am I, right? And so it can happen tomorrow, it can happen in 2 weeks, it can happen in many years, right? So, but still, this kind of frightening thought is always lingering in the mind. So the other limitation is the cause of all my problems. And everybody has just one problem here in life. Just one single problem. There is only one problem. People go to a dentist or a doctor or a therapist or an astrologer or whatever, or go to a course or read anything, a book or whatever. There is only one problem, and that problem is you cannot always get what you want. Simple as that. And in fact, you get very happy when you get what you want. You get very happy when you get what you want. But the problem is that you cannot maintain that happiness, because there is 2 disappointments in life. One disappointment is that you cannot get what you want all the time, and the other disappointment is to get it. Did you got it? Because the thing is that you are driven by desires, and the cause of the desire, we'll come to that. So the thing is that you're driven by your desires, and the reason is that the cause of the desire is that you believe that you're lacking something. And because you are per definition limited, and you will always lack something when you consider yourself as a person. So just identifying with being a person is pain in itself, because it reminds you that you're always lacking something. And therefore we are these hungry ghosts that we're seeking experiences, we're seeking pleasure, we're avoiding pain all the time, and makes life very stressful if you look into it. Most people don't, we're just running, chasing objects all the time, all day long. But when you start thinking about it, reflecting upon it, you will see that this is the situation. And so the third limitation is ignorance, in the sense, not the ignorance of not knowing. The thing is that we are living lives that we do not understand, and that is a big limitation. It's very frustrating not to really know what is going on. We were curious. We want to know what goes on because it gives security, it gives safety to know what is happening. So that's a big limitation, that we really don't understand the life that we're living. So Buddha was discovered these limitations and the suffering of the human condition, and that was his main question: what is the cause of suffering? And so Buddha's answer to this, his immediate answer was that the cause of suffering is desire, that we crave something. But we have to go deeper and ask the question, what is the cause of desire? And the cause of desire is the dualistic perspective, is the ignorance, is that you don't know who you are. That is the cause of desires. Because as you experience yourself as limitless, as limited, you have this inherent feeling of lack, that you're empty, that you have to fill up yourself. You need confirmation from the outside. Someone has to like you on Facebook or whatever. That is a kind of, this ego always feels like a hungry ghost, and can never get enough appreciation and experience and satisfaction to confirm itself. But it's a complete illusion. It's a mental construction. But we believe in it so much and have our complete identity in this ignorance, simple as that. So that is the basic understanding, is to understand that if I can disconnect from this identification of being the body, of being this person, because that is the cause of the suffering. Okay, so then the next question comes when we have addressed this predicament and this dilemma that we're in. So then the next question is how to end the suffering. How can we solve this problem? And then this is what Buddha started, and what spiritual practice is all about. And so that's why we become a seeker. That's why we start to do meditation, we start to do yoga, we start reading spiritual books, and we start looking for answer, how to solve the problem of suffering. And so there is a whole supermarket out there which offers all kinds of solutions to this problem. And I would say that about 99% of this is going in the wrong direction, because it offers a form of spiritual materialism, in the sense that it just offers a new type of experience. And then comes in this promise of enlightenment. It is possible to get free, and there is a solution to the problem. But how to solve the problem is not so easy, because the problem is ignorance. And so you could say, how do you get rid of ignorance? Do you get rid of ignorance by eating vegetarian food, or standing on your head, or fasting, or doing yoga, or running marathon? Does that remove your ignorance? It doesn't. The only thing that can remove your ignorance is knowledge. You have to understand. You have to get the right perspective. You simply just have to understand who you are. And what makes it so difficult is because it's so incredibly easy. Because what you're looking for, you already have. I know who I am. You know? How do you know who I am? I know I exist. How do I know it? You don't, I just know it, right? So it's not really about knowledge, it's about being. It's just about just letting go of all the concepts. Can you let go of the theories? Can you let go of this talk and so on? That's the whole thing. So it boils down to just being, which is so difficult because our intellect, our mind, is so active and we're so conditioned of trying to have control over everything through our minds. So that is the whole, that makes it so difficult. But we should be very aware that we don't get sidetracked by experience, because enlightenment and freedom is not an experience. In one sense it is an experience, but in another sense it is not an experience. It's not an experience in the sense that there is an experiencer and something that is being experienced, and that because that is dualism. And so there's no sense in saying that I am becoming enlightenment. It's not that I am becoming free, it's the other way around. It's like I am becoming free of the person that I think I am. So it's not the person who becomes free, but it's consciousness in itself that becomes liberated from the identification with the person that I think I am. Okay? So spiritual search can very easily turn into this ego trip, and it can really send you to what I call spiritual mountain climbing, in the sense that you have this idea that you have to work, you have to do something to become free. You don't have to do anything. There is nothing you can do, and in fact the more you do, the more you will reinforce your ignorance. Because what you're looking for, you already have. You know, I am free. Actually, consciousness, I am free. My existence, am free. So I'm trying to get rid of ignorance. That's the whole basic problem. So be very aware that you think that it's to have some kind of amazing spiritual experience, that is going to be, then you're going to make you into some kind of spiritualist big shot, and everybody thinks you're a great guy and so on, you know, and women will be attracted to you and everything. That's a big mistake. It's called spiritual materialism, simple as that. So, but anyway, so the thing is that there is nothing really you can do other than just stop thinking and just be. But that is still so difficult that we still need methods, and we need a practical spiritual path to solve this problem. And this is where yoga comes into the pictures, and different spiritual paths, and everybody has to kind of find their direction in this. Also, this talk, you could say that this talk is just ignorance. All knowledge is just ignorance. But it's still a tool. It's a necessary tool. So in the end, you will also have to let go of this knowledge. You all have to let go of that in the end. But it is a necessary tool to give you the perspective and give you the direction where you should put your attention. Simple as that. So yoga there are many forms of yoga. And in the Bhagavad Gita, there are basic two forms of yoga. There is the yoga of knowledge, called Jnana Yoga, and there is the yoga of action, called Karma Yoga. So the path of knowledge is what I've been talking about so far. It is just the clear understanding of who you are and removing your ignorance. It's a basic practice of just neti saying, no, I'm not this. When you become aware of the body, no, I'm not the body. You become aware of the thought, no, I'm not this thought. I come aware of the smell. No, I'm not this smell. I'm not this sound. I'm not this thought. I'm not this idea. If you can just let go and whatever is left, okay? Just the thought that I am aware of my ignorance. You cannot be ignorant if I'm aware that I'm ignorant. So, and also when you ask the question, who am I? The thing is, well, let go of the question, who is left, you know? Who is asking the question? Okay. So that's the method of just staying with I am, staying with my own presence, staying with my own being, to rest in my own presence and rest in my own being. So that's the path of knowledge. But it's the most direct path and what essentially will set you free. But if you don't understand this path, and if you find it too hard and too difficult, and you're not inclined to it because it requires a certain intellectual mind to walk the path or to grasp the path of knowledge. So then you will do the path of action, which is that you accept dualism. You accept, okay, I might know that the world is non-dual, everything, there is no separation, and all separation is just a mental concept. I might not understand that intellectually, but still, 99% of my being is dualistic. I believe I am this body, I believe I am my thoughts, and so on. And so that is the path of action. And then that's called karma yoga. And then you can do all kinds of practices. You can try to just reduce the ego. You try to cultivate your non-attachment. Instead, trying to just cultivate to do what is necessary instead of being driven by my ego and driven by my desires. So that's the karma yoga. There is also two other paths, which is the path of bhakti. Bhakti is devotion, and there is the path of Raja Yoga, which is the techniques. And so there comes the yoga postures, the breathing exercises, the relaxation, the meditation practices, and so on, is within Raja Yoga. But it's also forms of action, right? But it's also the path of devotion, which is incredibly important because it's through our love, through our devotion that we really connect to who we are, because love is really our essence and who we are. So this can also be cultivated, but in a sense, also Raja Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is paths of action and can be put under karma yoga. But okay, but many would say that yoga can be divided into four paths, and which is Jnana Yoga, knowledge yoga, and karma yoga, action yoga, and bhakti yoga, which is devotion, love, and the third, which is Raja Yoga, which is meditation practices, and so on. But anyway, so everybody has to kind of choose their own thing, and what these paths do is that they cleanse your mind. They cleanse the body and they cleanse the mind. They purify your karma and so on. And through this purification, your mind can become clear and the mind can be prepared for knowledge yoga. The mind can be prepared so you will understand these things. You will understand it. But there is an important distinction here between self-knowledge and self-realization. That you can understand this intellectually, which you can do through this video, through reading books and so on, which is an important part of the process. But it's not liberation. It is not freedom. Because it is still going on in the mind. Some teacher will say that you cannot go beyond the mind, that is only as long as you crack this logic, as long as you get it, you're free. But I don't think that's the way it works. I definitely think that you have to transcend the mind. You have to go beyond the intellect. So that's kind of difficult. Well, how do you go beyond the intellect? Well, actually, we have tried that many times. I think that's one of the reasons why sex and particularly the orgasm is so attractive, because it's this moment of ecstasy where you completely forget yourself. or you can experience it while dancing. You can, all of a sudden there is just the dance. There is nobody there dancing. You're just, there's just the dance. Or you see a fantastic view in nature. You completely forget yourself, that you get completely absorbed. So then all of a sudden consciousness is resting in itself. And that's extremely peaceful and blissful experience. And that is really what we're trying to achieve. Although you cannot do anything to make that happen. But it's like a little bit like going to sleep at night. You cannot force yourself to go to sleep, but you can make the preparations for going to sleep. And likewise with enlightenment or liberation, you cannot force yourself to do it. You have to prepare yourself and make the right conditions so it may happen. And it does happen through a process of grace, through a process of preparation. And so that is the tricky part. The tricky part is that true realization, going from self-knowledge to self-realization, is a transcendence of the mind. And so meditation, spiritual practices is not a guarantee for that to happen, but normally it will be a guarantee that it will not happen if you don't do those practices. Okay? So be patient, do your practice, meditate, reflect, do self-inquiry, read the books, listen to teachers, and so on. Be concentrated on your practice and prepare yourself for becoming free. So and some teachers will say, well, there is nothing you can do. Actually, no, there is nothing you can do, because what you're looking for, you already have. But still, you need to be qualified. You need to be qualified. And there are some traditional qualifications that are important for making a foundation for a spiritual practice. And the first one is discrimination. The first one is that you need to discriminate between the subject and the object. You need to see that I am not this person that I think I am. I am consciousness. I'm existence. I don't exist in time and space. I'm internal. I'm free. I'm unaffected of the experiences. It's like going to the movies, that I know I am not the film. I am the observer of the film. Okay? And that's why it's so enjoyable to see a film, because you know that you're unaffected by the film. They can start shooting, or it can get cold in the film or whatever, but I can sit there and eat my popcorn in peace and enjoy the experience. And that's the same thing with life. We're supposed to enjoy life. This is a fantastic, incredible experience, but we're so frightened by what we're experiencing that when the going gets tough or things doesn't happen the way we expect it to be, life becomes very frightening and a terrifying experience. Just like going to the movies and not realizing that it's actually a film. So this is the freedom that you can attain if you can develop and cultivate discrimination. You need to control the mind. You need to be able to observe what goes on in the mind, because most people are just being tossed around by their thoughts and their feelings and so on. You need to control the senses, your desires. If you feel the need for chocolate, you don't need to run to the fridge or whatever. You keep the chocolate and eat it right away. You can say, no, I can wait, or I don't need it right now, and so on. You can control your food. You say, okay, I don't need to eat. I can observe the feeling of hunger. Okay, well, you can wait, or you can skip a meal or whatever. It's just a thought in the mind, and it doesn't control you. You control your mind. You control the senses. Non-attachment, not to cling to things too much. Okay, we're so attached to the idea of being a person. We're so attached to the ego. We're so attached to security, to safety. Okay, but it's a false security. The only safety there really is in my own being, in my own existence. An important qualification is to follow your own dharma. To follow your own dharma means to live your own life. So it says in the Bhagavad Gita, great, that it's better to live your own life bad than to live other people's lives good. Okay? So it's about being true to yourself. It's not, because I think there is a plan in our lives. There's things we're supposed to do. Our soul comes into this existence for certain purposes, and we have to be true to ourselves. We have to follow the direction in life that we feel is the right for us. So following your own dharma. Earnestness means that you really go into this really wholeheartedly, that you really want liberation, and you do things intensely, and you really just see it as a hobby or just entertainment, but this is really what you came here to do. Forbearance means a kind of a tolerance of the pinpricks of life, and don't get upset for small things, but and also have a tolerance for that we live in the dualistic world, and there is meant to be conflict. I mean, if you want to become a war hero, then somebody got to be there to make these wars, right? And if you're going to learn to have compassion and forgiveness, there got to be some bad guys who hurt you, right? Otherwise, how can you forgive? So the whole dualistic world is this, as the way I see it, is this soul drama that we are participating in to trigger us, to train us, to develop our compassion. And it's a riddle that we are going to solve the basic riddle of who am I, and to get free of this world. That's the whole kind of the game of it, the way I see it. Anyway, and you need to have trust, you need to have faith, because in essence, in the spiritual path, there is nothing to believe in. This is a purely scientific method. It's a method of self-inquiry. It's a method of investigating your own experience of reality. Simple as that. And you investigate it. And it's a purely logical step, one step at the other. And so there is no religion, there is no faith in this. You don't need to believe anything. It's a purely logical method. But still, you need to trust the teachers, and you need to trust the tradition as a provisionary trust in the beginning. And so when you have come further down into the path, and when you are realized, then you will be able to verify these truths for themselves. But so it's a provisionary faith and a provisionary trust. Okay, and you need devotion, very important. You need to see the love in creation, the love of God, the incredible beauty of the world, and because it is a reflection of me, it's a reflection of who I am, and so the emotional part of it is a absolutely essential part of becoming free, and there is the appreciation of knowledge is devotion. There is an incredibly, at least for my part, an incredibly love of truth, a love of knowledge. And then a final qualification is the burning desire for liberation. And in my own life, it was kind of hidden. I wouldn't call it a burning desire for liberation, but this flame has started to burn more and more, really. I've always been driven by a search for knowledge, a search for truth. And we all have that somewhere inside of ourselves. But once you get this knowledge, and once you can start see that you can really go deeper and deeper into this knowledge, this fire of wanting to know, this fire of wanting to become free starts burning more and more. Also, when you realize the inherent pain and suffering that you actually go through by living in the world, by being ignorant. The pain and suffering of being ignorant. When you start realizing that, the desire for liberation, the desire for becoming free, really increases. You have found this talk, and if this makes sense, it will be a guru for you, in the sense that life is a guru for you. The guru doesn't need to be a guy with a big beard, because life teaches you all the time. And you can find your inner guru through your own inner experiences, but you will be guided, because if you have the desire for knowledge, As it says in the Bible, if you knock on the door, your answers, you will get an answer to your prayers, because God doesn't give someone who asks for bread, God doesn't give them a Scorpio. It's a really nice saying. So seek the kingdom of God first, and everything will be given unto you, it says. Anyway, so when the disciple is ready, the guru appears. So what you need to do is to qualify as a disciple. So the problem is not the guru, the problem is to finding the guru, the problem is to find the disciples. So you just have to work on your qualifications. You have to keep on searching, and then the right knowledge will come your way. Simple as that. So, but I would highly recommend to be very critical of the spiritual search, because wrong knowledge is worse than no knowledge. And there is a lot of confusion out there in the spiritual world, a lot of confusion. And it's very few people very few teachers who got this right, I must admit. And so I would highly recommend to follow an authentic teaching. And what I mean by an authentic teaching is a tradition that has been around for some time. I would recommend the Buddhist traditions, in the sense that in Buddhism you will find genuine spiritual teachers. Within yoga you will find genuine spiritual teachers, and particularly my own path is Advaita Vedanta, and in there is thousands of years of spiritual works, the Bhagavad Gita in particular, and also I'm really fond of Nisargadatta Maharaj, which I find is a really fascinating teacher who has a very clear and direct form of expressing this kind of these truth and these knowledge. So if you want to get started, I would highly recommend you to start a meditation practice, because that is a concrete method of quieting the mind. You need to slow down. So in order to become free, you need to turn the perspective. You have to go inside, because in the dualistic world we're all focused on the external world, so with all kinds of entertainment, all kinds of experiences. But you need to slow down the mind, you need to cleanse the body, you need to cleanse the mind, in order to make the mind as clear and prepared for attaining this knowledge and attaining this ultimately realization. So how do you meditate? There are actually 3 stages to meditation, and the first stage is, you could call mindfulness, is the first stage of meditation, which is just to close your eyes and become aware of whatever goes on in your mind. And what happens in that stage is that you hear the sounds, you notice that you think certain thoughts, you notice your restlessness, you wonder, you talk to yourself, and so on. You just sit there and you think, I can't do this because I'm thinking about all kinds of other things. Of course you do. The mind is like a drunk monkey. So just observe the monkey. That's what the first stage of meditation is about. And what is happening there is that you establish the witness. You cannot avoid to pay attention. Notice that, hey, I'm having all these thoughts, I'm having all these feelings, I'm sitting here, I have a pain in my knee, and there is some disturbing noise outside, but I am aware of experiencing all this. So that's the first stage, that you establish the witness. You establish, I'm not my body, I'm not my feelings, I'm not my thoughts. I am the witness. I am observing this. Okay? So the next stage of the meditation is called concentration. So you could say the first stage is relaxation, and the next stage is concentration. And then you introduce an object of concentration. And that object can be a mantra. You can say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, or other mantras, Sri Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, whatever. So all kinds of mantras, or you can have a certain idea or a symbol or a thought, or listen to the sounds, or just observing the thoughts. So here are many different techniques, and what technique you apply is not necessarily the most important thing. The most important thing is the process of concentration, and the purpose of that is to cleanse the mind. So if you have a mantra, it will kind of work as a kind of a vacuum cleaner and gradually make the mind more and more calm, more and more peaceful. Okay, so you can get a mantra anywhere and just find one that fits, one that suits you. You can say Om, 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 Om. That's a nice mantra. Okay, anyway, so you use a certain technique. So the third stage of meditation is meditation without an object. Okay, so that's difficult in the sense that how can you meditate on without an object? Well, that is exactly what the question "Who am I?" is about, because who is asking the question? So the thing is that the object dissolves. There is no object. There is only the subject. But you cannot turn the subject into an object. You can only be the subject. So that is the last stage of meditation, is to just be in your own presence, an appreciation of your own awareness. An appreciation of your own awareness. That is the final stage of meditation. And so if you do half an hour meditation, do 10 minutes of each. Okay, do 10 minutes of relaxation, of awareness, establishing the witness. 10 minutes of your mantra. Say Om, 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 Om for 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes just rest in your own being. Just rest in your own being. Whenever there's thoughts, just disregard the thought. I'm not the thought. Whenever there's a feeling, I'm not the feeling. I'm just the awareness resting in itself. Okay, this is a thought in itself. So because but you just have to be with it, okay? And so eventually that will open the mind, and together with the knowledge, together with the perspective, you will finally get it. But so, as I say, this is not liberation, this is not freedom, this is only the finger pointing to the moon. So it's not the moon in itself, it's just the menu card, and it's not the meal. But if you don't have the menu card, you're not going to get the meal. So that is basically it. So this is some of the perspectives on the question of who am I and why it is so important. Because it is the ultimate question, and it's a key and is a door opening to solve our basic human predicament of suffering because of our ignorance. And what can remove our ignorance is knowledge. So thank you for watching, and good luck on your journey.